I never imagined my life would turn upside down in a single weekend. My wife, Emily, had always been distant lately, but I never thought she would betray me like this. It all started when she got a new friend at work, a man named Daniel, charming and confident, who seemed to slip into her world effortlessly. At first, I dismissed it as harmless office gossip, something trivial to worry about. But subtle changes began to appear. Late nights, mysterious texts, faint perfume that wasn't mine. Emily brushed it off whenever I asked, smiling but avoiding eye contact, a coldness that made my stomach churn. It was a Thursday evening when the truth finally landed like a thunderbolt. I returned home earlier than usual from a client meeting, expecting the quiet hum of our life, Emily curled up with a book, the kids in their rooms. Instead, the front door was slightly ajar, a faint sound of laughter echoing through the hall. I froze. There, in the living room, were Emily and Daniel. I didn't need to see more. The betrayal was crystal clear. Rage and disbelief collided inside me, but I didn't confront her immediately. My mind raced, calculating the next move, the consequences, the reality I now faced. The next morning, I felt numb but determined. I couldn't act impulsively. I had to understand the full extent of what I was dealing with. That's when I decided to find out more about Daniel, casually at first, only to discover he wasn't single. He had a wife, Karen, and 2 kids, living in the suburb just 20 minutes away. I wasn't sure whether to be angry at Daniel, Emily, or the cruel twist of fate that had connected them. I knew one thing. I couldn't ignore this, not if I wanted any shred of dignity or justice. I approached Karen discreetly, unsure how she would react. Part of me expected fury, perhaps tears, perhaps denial. But the moment I introduced myself and explained the situation calmly, I was taken aback. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She listened, her expression steady, almost eerily composed. When I finished, she simply said, "I know." My stomach dropped. She had known all along? She nodded, confirming that Daniel had been deceitful for months, weaving a web of lies that even she hadn't fully exposed until now. Karen's composure was unnerving, but it also carried an unmistakable power. She didn't panic, didn't beg for sympathy. She was in control, and that control sent a shiver down my spine. She explained that she had been quietly gathering evidence, documenting everything Daniel did behind her back, from his lies to secret meetings. "It's not about revenge," she said calmly. "It's about truth and making sure he can't hurt anyone else." Her words made my heart pound. I realized then that the tables were about to turn, and in a way I hadn't anticipated, Emily was about to face consequences she hadn't even imagined. That evening, Karen invited me and Emily over, without telling Emily in advance that I was involved. Emily had no idea what was coming. She smiled nervously when she arrived, her usual confidence slipping, replaced by an uneasy tension. The moment she walked into the house, the atmosphere changed. Daniel was there, of course, caught in a web he hadn't even seen being spun around him. Karen confronted him calmly but firmly, presenting proof of every lie, every secret meeting, every betrayal. Photos, messages, receipts, everything laid out meticulously. Daniel's smirk faltered, then vanished completely as the room absorbed the weight of his exposure. Emily's face went pale. For the first time, I saw her vulnerability, not the casual smirk she had worn to dismiss my concerns, but real fear, real shame. Karen's kids, quiet witnesses to the entire ordeal, watched with a mix of confusion and curiosity. There was no shouting, no chaos, just a deliberate, unyielding revelation of the truth. Emily tried to speak, tried to excuse herself, to explain, but her words sounded hollow even to her. The power she thought she had over the situation vanished instantly, replaced by the realization that her actions had consequences far beyond what she could control. I stayed quiet throughout, observing, feeling a mix of vindication and disbelief. The woman I had loved and trusted was exposed not by my anger, but by someone else's meticulous plan. Karen's calm authority made it clear. This wasn't about drama, it was about justice. Emily's carefully constructed walls of secrecy were crumbling, and the people who truly mattered, her family, my conscience, and those affected by Daniel's lies, were finally witnessing the truth. Emily stood frozen, her mouth opening and closing, unable to form words that could undo the damage. Daniel, on the other hand, sank into his chair, defeated, humiliated, stripped of the arrogance he had carried for months. Karen's calm gaze never wavered as she addressed Emily directly. "You should know," she said slowly. "Betraying trust isn't just about secrecy. It's about hurting everyone involved. And now everyone sees the truth." Her words hit like a hammer, echoing through the room. Emily's hands trembled as she reached for her phone, perhaps to apologize, perhaps to explain, but no one moved to stop her. The irony wasn't lost on me. She had tried to control the narrative, but the control had slipped completely out of her grasp. I realized in that moment that I didn't even need to speak. Watching her face, seeing the weight of her choices reflected in her eyes was enough. The shame, the fear, the shock, it was all there. Emily had expected a private affair, a temporary thrill, a secret no one would discover. But life, as it often does, had other plans. Karen turned to Daniel's children, speaking gently, explaining in a way that neither frightened nor confused them. It was clear she had planned this carefully, protecting them while simultaneously delivering a lesson that would last a lifetime. Emily looked on, pale and defeated, realizing that her actions had ripple effects she could never undo. The power she had sought in that affair had evaporated completely, replaced by exposure, accountability, and the quiet dignity of the woman she had underestimated. After the confrontation, Emily left quickly, her face a mixture of guilt, anger, and fear. Daniel stayed behind for a moment, and I saw the man he really was: weak, deceitful, and entirely unworthy of the chaos he had caused. Karen handled the aftermath with grace, demonstrating that strength is not loud or violent. It is deliberate, measured, and intelligent. I left that night with a sense of closure I hadn't expected. My marriage was shattered, yes, but the story had been written not by rage or impulsive decisions, but by the unwavering pursuit of truth. As I drove home, I reflected on the lesson that had unfolded. Betrayal can come from anyone, but the way it is confronted defines the real strength of those involved. Emily's choices were her own, Daniel's deceit his, but Karen's response, the careful, shocking, undeniable exposure, was what left everyone stunned, including me. And in that realization I understood one immutable truth. Sometimes the most powerful justice is quiet, precise, and unavoidable.